OpenAI, I mean, you seem somewhat frustrated with them. You were one of the big contributors early on.
The reason I am the reason OpenAI exists.
How much money did you give them?
I'm not sure the exact number, but it's some number on the order of $50 million. Man, fate loves irony, next level. So I used to be close friends with Larry Page, and I would stay at his house, and we'd have these conversations long into the evening about AI, and I would be constantly urging him to be careful about the danger of AI, he was really not concerned about the danger of AI and was quite cavalier about it, and at the time, Google, especially after their acquisition of DeepMind, had 3/4 of the world's AI talent. They had obviously a lot of computers and a lot of money. So it was a unipolar world for AI. And we've got a unipolar world, but the person who controls that does not, or at least did not seem to be concerned about AI safety. That sounded like a real problem. So, and then the final straw was Larry calling me a speciesist for being pro-human consciousness instead of machine consciousness. And I'm like, well, yes, I guess I am. I am a speciesist.
So you helped to the creation of OpenAI. You put in as much as $50 million.
More than helped. It wouldn't exist without me.
It wouldn't exist without you. So
I came up with a name. Right. The name OpenAI refers to open source. So the intent was, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of Google? Would be an open source nonprofit, because Google is closed source for profit, and that profit motivation can be potentially dangerous.
Should you have gotten governance for that money? Should you have gotten some level of control, perhaps, in retrospect?
Yeah, I fully admit to being a huge idiot here. Anyway, so OpenAI was meant to be open as an open source. It was created as a 501c3, so part of it is also, in the beginning, I thought, look, this is probably a hopeless endeavor. How could we possibly compete with? How could OpenAI possibly compete with Google DeepMind? I mean, this seemed like an ant against an elephant, which is not a contest. And I was also, I was instrumental in recruiting the key scientists and engineers, most notably Ilya Sutskever. In fact, Ilya went back and forth several times because he would say he's going to join OpenAI, then Demis would convince him not to, then I would convince him to do so, and this went back and forth several times, and ultimately he decided to join OpenAI, and really Ilya joining was the linchpin for OpenAI being ultimately successful.
So you're very disappointed in what's happened there in terms of it becoming a for-profit. Did you take any action? Sue them in some way?
I do think that there's some... Look, it does seem weird that something can be a non-profit open source and somehow transform itself into a for-profit closed source. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money. And you'd be therefore like, well, wait a second, that's the exact opposite of what I gave the money for.
Yeah.
Is that legal? That doesn't seem legal. And if it is, and in general, if it is legal to start a company as a nonprofit and then take the IP and transfer it to a for-profit that then makes tons of money, shouldn't everyone start? Shouldn't that be the default?
Right.
And then I also think it's important to understand like when push comes to shove, let's say they do create some digital superintelligence, almost godlike intelligence. Well, who's in control?
Yeah.
And what exactly is the relationship between OpenAI and Microsoft? And I do worry that Microsoft actually may be more in control than, say, the leadership team at OpenAI realizes. I mean, Microsoft, as part of the Microsoft investment, they have rights to all of the software, all of the model weights, and everything necessary to run the inference system.
So they essentially have a great deal of control.
At any point, Microsoft could cut off OpenAI.